Welcome back to the horror story channel Bong Toi Trong Dem. Today, we're introducing a chilling story titled The Shortcut. Before we begin, if you find this story intriguing, please give it a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for listening. Now, let's get started. That night, a light drizzle fell from the sky, and the dim yellow streetlights cast flickering beams onto the wet pavement. Hoang had just finished his late shift at the cafe. Later than usual, slinging his backpack over one shoulder, he walked toward the main road, planning to catch a ride home. His phone buzzed, screen lighting up, a message from Hoi, his best friend. Hoang pulled out the phone, reading as he walked, mumbling under his breath, "This guy again, asking me to drink at this hour. I'm dead tired." Stopping under a shop's awning, he quickly typed a reply and hit send. "I'm exhausted. Man, let's go tomorrow. I just want to sleep now." Shoving the phone back into his pocket, he checked the time. Nearly 11 p.m. The streets were quiet, with only a few people passing by. Ahead, the main road glowed brightly under the lamps, but to his left was a narrow alley, a shortcut leading deeper into the neighborhood. A crooked sign stood by its entrance, its paint chipped and faded, letters barely visible. Hoang hesitated for a moment. The main road's a long walk. This shortcut should be quicker, he muttered, turning into it. The shortcut was eerily silent. Nothing like the bustling street outside. Tall, damp walls lined with moss loomed on both sides. Old wooden doors shut tight. Sparse streetlights spilled patches of dim light, leaving thick shadows in between. His footsteps echoed sharply, every sound magnified in the stillness. He glanced around, forcing himself to stay calm. Probably just not many people take this road. That's all, he reassured himself. After a while, the sound of a motorbike engine came from behind. He instinctively moved aside, but when he looked back, the street was empty. No motorbike, no one. Frowning, he whispered, "I swear I heard an engine." Strange. Quickening his pace, each step heavier than the last, the silence pressed in. Then, from the darkness ahead, a faint whisper drifted to his ears. A voice, soft and unclear, calling his name, Hoang. His body stiffened, heart hammering. He darted his eyes around. The alley was deserted. Not a soul in sight. Swallowing hard, he tried to laugh it off. Maybe just the wind through the tin roofs sounded like that. But as he took another step, the voice came again, clearer this time, right behind him. Hoang. He spun around. The alley lay in darkness, utterly empty. A cold gust swept through, rustling dry leaves across the ground. Drawing a deep breath, he forced himself forward. He needed to get out of this shortcut. Yet no matter how far he walked, the scenery repeated itself. The mossy wall, the old utility pole plastered with a torn poster, just like before. He stopped, panting, whispering through clenched teeth, "No way, am I walking in circles?" The night grew heavier, shadows thickening as the streetlights flickered, threatening to go out. The air chilled, prickling his skin with goosebumps. Then, slicing through the silence, the whisper returned, gentle yet hauntingly long. "Hoang, don't go any further." He froze, eyes wide. It felt as though someone stood right behind him, breathing softly against his neck. Whipping around, he found nothing. No one. His heart pounded. Sweat trickled cold down his back. Stammering, he tried to convince himself, "No, I'm just exhausted." Hearing things. Clutching the straps of his backpack, he braced himself and kept moving. Each step felt as heavy as stone. He told himself, "Just get out of this alley, just get out." At the far end, a flickering light glowed faintly like a fragile escape. He broke into a run, ignoring the voices that now rose behind him. Faster, harsher, calling out again and again. "Hoang, Hoang, turn back." Hoang hurled himself toward the faint light at the end of the alley. The voices behind him grew louder, dozens of whispers merging into one, repeating his name over and over. "Hoang, turn back, Hoang." Clenching his teeth, he ran harder, lungs burning, heart pounding like it would burst. He only needed to escape, just reach that light. Then, as if shoved by an unseen force, Hoang suddenly stumbled forward, tumbling out of the alley and rolling onto the sidewalk. Gasping, he looked up to see the familiar street. Cars passing sparsely, street lights shining bright and warm. His hands trembled as he pushed himself upright. He turned back. The dark alley behind him stood quiet, looking like any ordinary narrow path. No voices, no one there. Sinking down onto the pavement, he tried to calm himself. I must have been hallucinating, it has to be, he whispered, though his voice shook. Suddenly, his phone rang in his pocket. He jumped, snatched it out. It was Hoy. He answered, forcing his tone steady. Hello? Hey, why aren't you home yet? Where are you? Hoy asked. Hoang's eyes darted back toward the shadowy alley. A shiver ran through him before he turned away. I'm on my way. Almost there. Then swing by the noodle shop near my place. Tung's here too. We'll eat. Then I'll give you a ride home. Hoang wanted to refuse, but the thought of walking alone past that road again made his skin crawl. He finally nodded. All right, wait for me. ... The noodle shop glowed warmly, steam rising from pots. Hoy and Tung sat waiting. When Hoang walked in, they smirked. Took you long enough. What, did you get lost? Hoang sat down, forcing a smile. Yeah, took the wrong turn. Tung leaned on his hand. Curious. Wrong turn? You live around here. How could you get lost? Hoang stayed silent. He could still feel the chill. Still hear the whispers calling his name. But there was no way to explain it without sounding insane. Hoy studied him for a moment, then spoke seriously. Hey, you didn't take that little alley off the main street, did you? Hoang froze, staring at him, hesitant. Yeah, how do you know? Hoy narrowed his eyes, lowering his voice. They call that place the shortcut. In the daytime it's normal. But at night, people say once you step in, you can't find your way out. Some even hear voices calling their names. Years ago, someone died there. Tung scoffed, cutting in with a laugh. Oh, come on, stop scaring him. He was probably just exhausted and imagining things. Hoang gripped his chopsticks tightly, mind in turmoil. He knew it wasn't his imagination. That voice was too clear. It still echoed in his head. Outside, the night wind whistled through the iron gate, carrying a faint whisper that slipped straight into Hoang's ears. Hoang, next time, don't go back. He jerked upright, eyes wide, but Hoy and Tung kept chatting casually, as if they hadn't heard a thing. Hoang stayed silent, lowering his head as sweat beaded across his forehead. One thing was certain, that alley was no ordinary place, and someone was still waiting for him to return. The next morning, Hoang came to class with dark circles under his eyes. All night long, every time he closed them, that whisper returned, sometimes distant, sometimes right beside his ear. In the classroom, Lan, his classmate who sat next to him, tilted her head to look at him. Hey, you look like a zombie. Studied all night? Hoang forced a small smile, trying to sound casual. Yeah, stayed up a little late. Lan shook her head, scolding gently. If you keep this up, how are you going to handle our group presentation next week? He only nodded, saying nothing more, but Lan's eyes lingered on him, as if sensing he was hiding something. ... During break, the group gathered in the cafeteria. Hoy and Tung were eating, while Lan sat across from Hoang. Out of nowhere, she asked, half joking, half serious. I heard you wandered into some weird place last night. Is that true? Hoang froze, then turned toward Hoy. You told her? Hoy shrugged. I just mentioned it, but you saw it yourself. Lots of people have had the same thing happen. There are plenty of stories. Lan rested her chin on her hand, eyes fixed on Hoang. It's that shortcut, isn't it? I heard upperclassmen talk about it. Some people got trapped for over an hour, walking in circles, unable to escape, and there was this third-year student a while back who disappeared completely. The table went silent. Tung broke into laughter, trying to lighten the tension. Come on, those are just spooky rumors. If Hoang had vanished, would he be sitting here now? But Lan didn't laugh. She kept her eyes on Hoang, her voice softer. Did you hear anything strange? Hoang pressed his lips together. Torn, he remembered every whisper, every chilling shiver that had crawled up his spine. But if he said it out loud, would anyone believe him? At last, he muttered vaguely. Just felt uncomfortable. That's all. Lan tilted her head, giving a faint smile. You're hiding something. ... That evening, Hoang left school late. Dusk had fallen, the wind rustling through the trees. Riding his motorbike home, his heart tightened when he passed the same neighborhood as the night before. The shortcut alley lay silent, dim streetlights flickering weakly above it. Hoang swallowed hard, forcing himself to look away and twist the throttle faster. Suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled over, took it out. It was a text from an unknown number. Hoang, get lost again. Cold sweat broke out across his forehead. He lifted his eyes. The alley yawned in darkness, stretching endlessly, as though it was waiting. Shaking, he whispered, Who's messing with me? Just then, his phone rang. It was Lan. Her urgent voice burst through the speaker. Hoang, where are you? Don't go near that place alone. He froze, his heart tightening. How did Lan know? The night wind howled sharply, and in it came that familiar whisper, curling around his ear. Hoang, turn back. Hoang gripped the handlebars tightly, his whole body trembling with cold. Hoang stood frozen, the phone trembling in his hand. Lan's urgent voice came through the line. Hoang, listen to me, you're near the shortcut, aren't you? He swallowed hard, his voice hoarse. Yeah, I'm standing right at the entrance. But how do you know? Lan drew in a sharp breath, then spoke with strained control. Leave there right now. I went back to school to grab a book and saw your bike heading that way. Hoang, please, don't go in there again. Hoang's eyes flicked toward the alley. It was pitch black, stretching endlessly inward. The dim streetlight cast long, twisted shadows of tree branches, like skeletal arms clawing at the ground. Once more, that familiar whisper brushed against his ear. Hoang, turn back, come back. He shuddered, snapping his head around, but there was nothing. Only emptiness. Lan, Hoang stammered, voice shaking. I'm not imagining it, someone is calling my name. Right next to me. There was a pause on the line. Then Lan spoke, her tone soft, almost pleading. Don't answer. Please, listen to me. If you hear it again, ignore it. Just get on your bike and leave. Don't stay there. Sweat trickled down his forehead as Hoang gripped the handlebars tighter. Forcing himself to steady, he demanded, Lan, what do you really know? Why are you so afraid of this place? Lan fell silent. All he could hear was her heavy breathing. Then, slowly, heavily, she said, because I lost a friend there. Hoang's chest sank. Shocked, he pressed. You mean, really missing? Gone? Lan's voice wavered. Yes, back in high school, a close friend of mine wandered into that alley. She called me, panicked, saying she kept hearing someone call her name. I rushed there, but I was too late. When the police searched, all they found was her bike tipped over at the entrance. She was gone. The air thickened around him. Hoang turned to stare at the alley again, dark, endless, hungry, as if it could swallow anything whole. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. A new text appeared. This time, don't let your friend go alone. Hoang's blood ran cold, his heart stopping for a beat. He instantly sent a screenshot of the message to Lan. Seconds later, her panicked voice came through the phone. Hoang, listen to me. You need to go home now. Don't linger there. I'll explain everything, but not now. Please, just leave. Hoang nodded frantically, choking out. Okay, I'm going. He spun his bike around and sped away from the neighborhood. The night wind whipped his face, but in his ears, the whisper still followed. Hoang, turn back, don't leave. ... That night, back in his rented room, Hoang sat alone under the dim glow of his desk lamp. Exhaustion etched across his face. His eyes stayed fixed on his phone screen, the eerie text still glaring back at him. Outside the window, the wind gusted through, and in a fleeting moment, he thought he heard slow footsteps pacing the hallway. A shadow slipped past the crack beneath his door. Holding his breath, every hair on his body stood on end. Then, louder than ever before, the whisper came, this time right behind him. Hoang, stop hiding. Hoang's rented room was swallowed in silence. That whisper still clung to his spine like ice. He spun around, but no one was there. The room was unchanged. Just the faint hum of the fan and the sickly yellow glow of the lamp. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was Lan. Hoang pressed it to his ear. His voice rough. "Lan, I just heard it again, inside my room this time." On the other end, Lan drew in a sharp breath, then answered firmly, "I'm coming to you. Don't open the door for anyone. No matter what you hear. Ignore every voice." Hoang nodded weakly, whispering, "Okay, I'll wait." About 20 minutes later, a knock rattled the door. Lan stood there, her face pale with worry. She hurried inside and shut the door tight behind her. Dropping her bag on the table, she scanned the room before turning to him. "Are you all right?" Hoang forced a faint smile, though his eyes were sunken and dark. "Not all right, but still alive." Lan sat down, fingers tightly interlocked, her voice hushed. "Hoang, I think I need to tell you everything. If not, you'll keep being drawn in." Leaning closer, Hoang listened intently. Lan spoke slowly, each word sharp as a blade. "That shortcut, people say it used to lead to an old cemetery. Later, the city filled it in and built houses over it. But the dead never left. They still linger there. Anyone who wanders in at night gets pulled deeper by the voices. If you answer, or stop walking, you'll never come back." Hoang's voice shook. "Then, your high school friend?" Lan lowered her head, her tone breaking. "It happened exactly like that. She called me, terrified, saying someone kept calling her name. I only heard one last sentence, 'Lan, I see you in here.' Then, silence. Forever." The room grew heavier with each word. Hoang clenched his fists, staring down at the table. "So, why me now?" Lan bit her lip before answering quietly. "Because you heard it. Once the voice finds someone, it doesn't let go. Those texts, they weren't sent by anyone human." Hoang frowned, his voice raw. "You mean, it's using the phone too?" Lan nodded slightly, fear flickering in her eyes. "It always finds ways to lure someone new. Once you've been marked, the only chance is to uncover its origin and end it." Hoang met her gaze, his voice steady, resolute. "Then we have to find it. We can't just sit and wait." Lan shivered but gave a slow nod. "I think it's tied to the old cemetery. Tomorrow, we'll go to the school library and search for old records about that place." Hoang rose and walked toward the window. Outside, the night pressed thick and heavy. For an instant, in the glass reflection, he saw not just himself and Lan, but a faint, shadowy figure standing between them. His body locked in place. He whipped around, but only the two of them were in the room. Seeing his pale face, Lan asked quickly, "Hoang, what is it?" He swallowed hard and shook his head, forcing the words out. "Nothing, nothing. Let's just rest. We'll look for the records tomorrow." But deep down, Hoang knew the truth. That shadow had already followed him home. The next morning, Hoang woke with heavy eyes. He had tossed and turned all night, haunted by the image of that shadow in the glass. Lan was already awake, making coffee in the small kitchen corner. She handed him a cup, her voice gentle. "Today we'll go to the school library. But first, I want you to promise me, no matter what you hear, don't answer it, okay?" Hoang held the cup, its warmth spreading into his hands. He looked straight into Lan's eyes and nodded firmly. "Yeah, I promise. We need to find the truth." The library was hushed, only a few students scattered among the tables. Lan led Hoang to the archive section. The musty smell of old paper lingered in the air, fluorescent lights casting pale beams over cramped shelves. Lan flipped through stacks of old newspapers, murmuring, "Here, the 80s and 90s. That area used to be a major cemetery before they cleared it out to build the neighborhood." Hoang bent over, pointing to a yellowed article. "Look, 1992, an accident. A group of workers was buried alive while filling graves. 3 died, one of them a young man named Tran Quoc Bao." Lan read carefully, her face paling. "Quoc Bao? That name sounds familiar. Back in high school, my missing friend, before she vanished, she said she heard a whisper. 'Bao, it's Bao.'" Hoang's brow furrowed, his tone tense. so that spirit doesn't just call others by name, it lures them by using its own. Lan folded the paper, breathing deeply. If that's true, then he's the root. Maybe his soul wasn't properly buried, just hastily covered. They kept searching. Near the end, Hoang pulled out a thin file misplaced among old maps. Inside was a list of graves that had never been relocated. At the bottom, in scrawled handwriting, Tran Quoc Bao, location unknown, remains not found. Hoang gripped the page tightly, whispering, "Not found, that means he's still buried under there." Lan laid a hand on his shoulder, her voice trembling, "And his spirit is restless, wandering, looking for someone to replace him." On the way back, clouds thickened overhead, the sky gray and heavy. They stopped at a roadside tea stall to rest. The old woman running the shop poured tea, her sharp eyes lingering on them before she asked suddenly, "You two, you're looking into that shortcut, aren't you?" Startled, Hoang answered cautiously, "Yes, how do you know?" The woman smiled faintly, but her gaze was deep. "Nobody dares mention it, but I've lived near there long enough to know. That path has swallowed many. Anyone who hears their name called rarely comes back." Lan leaned forward urgently. "Do you know anything about a man named Tran Quoc Bao? A worker, who died when the graves were being filled?" The woman fell silent for a moment, then lowered her voice. "Yes, Bao was young, gentle. On the day of the accident, they only recovered 2 bodies. He vanished. Some swore they saw his figure among the mourners at his own funeral. Grinning. Since then, every night, voices called to those who wander. I don't think he's gone far." A chill shot down Hoang's spine. He asked quietly, "So how can it be stopped?" The old woman exhaled heavily. "To bring peace, his remains must be brought into the light. His bones are still out there somewhere, but no one dares dig." Hoang and Lan exchanged a long look. Neither spoke, but the same thought burned in both their minds. "We have to find Tran Quoc Bao's grave." That night, back at his room, Hoang pushed the door open. For a split second, the light flickered, casting sickly shadows across the walls. On the table, his phone screen lit up with no notification sound. A new message from an unknown number appeared. "Hoang, I see you. Come with me." Hoang went rigid, his hands trembling. The phrasing, exactly the same as what Lan had described from her lost friend's final words. Hoang sat frozen, staring at the phone screen. The message seared into his mind. "Hoang, I see you. Come with me." He immediately turned to Lan, showing her the screen. Her face went pale, lips trembling. "Yes, that's it." My friend back then received the exact same message, right before disappearing. The air in the room grew suffocating. The ceiling light flickered faintly, buzzing with static. Hoang swallowed hard, forcing his voice steady. "We can't hesitate anymore. If we don't find where Quoc Bao was buried, more people will vanish. Maybe me, maybe you." Lan stayed silent, her eyes clouded with dread. After a long pause, she nodded. "Tomorrow, we'll go back near the shortcut. We'll dig, no matter how dangerous it is." The next day, the sky was overcast, winds howling through the streets. Hoang and Lan carried shovels, picks, and other tools. They slipped past the barbed wire fence into the abandoned lot beside the shortcut. The place was overgrown with weeds, heavy with the stench of damp soil. Broken gravestones lay scattered, some half buried in mud. Lan pointed toward a sunken patch of earth. "It must be there," the record said. Bao fell near the edge of the old cemetery. Hoang drove the shovel into the ground, digging. The clang of metal against dry earth echoed as clumps of dirt flew aside. Lan helped, though her eyes kept darting nervously around, as if expecting someone to be watching. After half an hour, Hoang's shovel struck something solid. The sharp clack made them both flinch. Dropping to his knees, he brushed away the mud. A rotting wooden plank emerged, the crushed lid of a coffin. Lan's voice trembled. We found it." Hoang pried the wood apart with the shovel. The lid splintered open, revealing only darkness inside. A chilling gust rose from within, prickling their skin with goosebumps. In the faint light, Hoang saw, not a full skeleton, but scattered bone fragments, and a tangled black mass. matted like human hair, caked in mud. Lan suddenly gasped. Hoang, look! In the corner of the coffin lay a tarnished silver ring, engraved with 2 blurred letters, QB. At that moment, the wind roared, flinging dirt into the air. The sky darkened as if a storm was about to break, and from the distance came a voice, echoing loud and clear. Hoang, Hoang. It droned on, stretching endlessly, as though whispering directly into his skull. Hoang clutched the ring tightly, sweat dripping cold as he panted. He knows. We've disturbed his place. Lan grabbed Hoang's arm, screaming over the howling wind. Run, don't look back. They scrambled out of the pit and sprinted. Yet with every step, Hoang felt footsteps shadowing his own, perfectly in sync. Just inches behind, at the road's edge, they stopped, gasping for breath. But still, Hoang could feel it, someone standing right behind him. His body stiffened, too terrified to turn around. Lan trembled, forcing her voice to stay calm. Don't turn your head. Remember what I said. We have to take this ring. It will lead us to the truth. Hoang squeezed the ring in his palm, ice cold against his skin, and in that instant, he heard it, faint, whispering from his hand itself. Give it back, it's mine. Hoang lifted his head, eyes widening in horror. The wind howled bitterly cold, trees along the roadside swaying violently. Hoang clenched the ring in his fist, every tendon in his hand stiffening as the whisper swirled around his ear. Give it back, it's mine. Hoang. Lan saw his face turn ghostly pale. His eyes glazed. She grabbed his shoulders, shaking him hard. Hoang, snap out of it. Don't listen to him. He jolted as if waking from a nightmare. Gasping for breath, looking at Lan, his voice cracked. Lan, he's in my head. The voice keeps calling. So clear. I'm scared. I can't fight it. Lan steadied her voice, firm and sharp. Listen to me. Don't let it pull you in. That ring is the key. If we hold on to it, we'll learn what Quoc Bao wants. Don't drop it, and don't give it back. Hoang bit his lip and nodded. But with each step forward, his legs grew heavier, as though glued to the pavement. He clearly heard footsteps trailing behind him, perfectly matching his own. But half a beat late, as if there were another, Hoang, walking just a step behind. Trembling, he whispered, Lan, someone's right behind me. Lan gripped his hand tightly, pulling him faster, her voice urgent. Don't look back. If you turn, it'll enter you. Keep your eyes forward. Stay with me. They hurried through the dim alley. Yellow streetlights stretching eerie shadows of trees like monstrous fingers clawing at the ground. Inside Hoang's pocket, the silver ring burned hot, throbbing with his heartbeat. Suddenly, his ears rang, the world falling silent, the street warped before his eyes, stretching endlessly, lights flickering in smears of haze. And in the distance, within the darkness, a lone figure stood waiting. Lan panicked as Hoang slowed, eyes wide, lips moving unconsciously. Bao, is that you? Terrified, she slapped him hard across the cheek. Hoang, wake up, it isn't real. He snapped out of it, whipping his head toward her, sweat dripping down his face. Panting, he stammered, Lan, I saw him. He's calling me over. He's right there at the end of the road. Lan looked ahead, but saw only emptiness. Her jaw tightened. Fine, if he wants to call you, then we'll face it. But remember this, Hoang. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, don't let go of my hand. Hoang nodded, gripping her hand tighter. They pushed deeper into the shortcut. The air thickened, damp and rancid, like rot seeping up from the soil. Abandoned houses lined the way, their windows hollow like the eye sockets of corpses. The ring in Hoang's palm suddenly turned icy cold. And this time, it wasn't just one voice, it was many. Overlapping whispers pressing against his skull. Hoang, help me. Hoang, why did you leave me? Hoang, turn back. He clutched his temples, trying to shut them out. But the voices swelled louder, crashing in waves. At last, he lifted his head, and the figure was closer now. A young man in a mud-stained shirt, face blurred, but eyes glowing like fire. Lan felt Hoang's grip tightening, saw his lips trembling as if about to call a name. She shouted, don't follow him. Remember what I told you. We're not done yet, Hoang. But in that instant, a razor-sharp whisper cut through Hoang's ear. Cold as ice. If you don't come, the next one to vanish will be Lan. Hoang froze, eyes darting to Lan in raw terror. The choice pressed down on him: go to the shadow, or lose the one beside him. Lan caught his panicked gaze, her own voice breaking as she gripped his hand with all her strength. Hoang, don't let go of me. If you let go, I'll be gone too. The wind roared, scattering leaves into a frenzy. In his hand, the ring blazed like fire, urging him forward. Hoang stood frozen in the middle of the road, sweat dripping down his forehead. The wind whistled past his ears, but within it was Kwok Bao's voice, sometimes distant, sometimes near, sometimes whispering right at the back of his neck. Follow me, Hoang, don't resist. If you do, Lan will pay the price. Hoang trembled, his gaze unfocused, as if an invisible thread was pulling him away from Lan. The grip of his hand in hers weakened, his fingers beginning to slip. Lan realized what was happening and screamed in panic. No, Hoang, look at me. Don't listen to him. Don't you remember? Kwok Bao is dead. He's nothing but a shadow now. But Hoang didn't hear her. Before his eyes, Kwok Bao's figure grew clearer. That pale face smiled, reaching out a hand, and in that instant, Hoang didn't see a ghost. He saw an old friend, Kwok Bao, alive, running with him across the schoolyard, both laughing in their youth. Bao, Hoang whispered, voice breaking. Lan saw him begin to step forward, his hand slipping from hers. Terrified, she threw her arms around him from behind, anchoring him to reality. Hoang, listen to me. If you follow him, you'll never come back. You'll die, just like he did. Her words cut through the fog, clouding his mind like a blade. Hoang froze, drawing in a deep breath. For a brief moment, the whisper in his head fell silent, leaving only the pounding of his frantic heartbeat. But then, the figure before him changed. Kwok Bao's face cracked open, flesh decaying, eyes rolling white, his mouth gaped, releasing a guttural snarl. If you won't come, then she will. At that moment, the wind lashed violently, knocking Lan off balance. Hoang saw her hand being yanked by some unseen force. She cried out, Hoang, it's pulling me. Panic surged through him as Lan's body began to drag backward into the darkness. Without thinking, he clutched her hand with all his strength, screaming, No, if you want someone, take me, leave Lan alone. The ring in his palm suddenly flared, bursting into blinding silver light. The glow seared through the darkness, forcing the grotesque apparition to reel back. Shrieking in rage, Lan slipped free from the pull, collapsing into Hoang's arms. Both of them sank to the ground. Gasping for air, Hoang stared at the glowing ring, whispering, Lan, maybe this ring isn't just tied to Kwok Bao, maybe it's what's restraining him. Lan nodded, her hands trembling. Then we have to uncover the truth. Otherwise, he'll never let us go. The wind gradually died, the alley sinking back into silence. Yet the suffocating weight of unseen eyes lingered, watching, unrelenting. That night, Hoang and Lan didn't dare continue down the shortcut. Instead, they hurried toward the main road, walking beneath the dim, flickering streetlights. Only when they sat down in a small cafe near the dorms did they finally begin to speak openly. Hoang pressed a hand to his forehead, his voice heavy. Lan, did you see it? He didn't just appear to scare me, he wanted to drag me with him. But why me? And this ring, it's clearly connected. Lan gripped her warm cup tightly, her eyes filled with worry. Maybe because you're the only one who still holds his keepsake. Or maybe he needs someone to replace him. Hoang, I don't think this is just about some wandering spirit. It feels deeper than that. Hoang exhaled slowly, then quietly slipped the ring off his finger and set it on the table. Under the cafe's yellow light, it cast cold glimmers across the surface. He remembered the day Kwok Bao had handed it to him, back then. It was just a joke, a passing gesture. Now, it had become a tether between two worlds. Biting his lip, Hoang spoke softly. Back then, do you remember? Kwok Bao died so suddenly in that accident on the shortcut. But I never dared face it. I only heard people say, He lost control of his bike and plunged into the ditch. Lan was silent for a while before nodding. Yes, but I also heard rumors. They said Quoc Bao wasn't alone that night. People claimed there was a girl riding on the back. No one knew who she was, and her body was never found. Hoang froze, staring at her in shock. What did you just say? I never heard that detail before. Lan sighed. It's only a rumor, but it lingers. Some even say that girl was the reason Quoc Bao lost control. If that's true, then his death hides more than we thought. Hoang clenched his fist, his eyes burning with determination. Then we have to find out. I can't let this remain unanswered. If Bao hasn't moved on, we at least need to know why. Lan hesitated, then nodded. All right, but Hoang, promise me one thing, no matter what happens. Don't ever let go of my hand to follow him. Do you understand? Hoang looked straight into her eyes, gently squeezing the hand she had resting on the table. I promise, no matter what, I won't go anywhere. We'll find the answer together. Outside, a light drizzle began to fall on the shortcut road. The street lamps flickered, their glow wavering as if someone were standing out there in the rain, silently watching. The next morning, Hoang and Lan went together to the university library, where old newspapers and records of city accidents were stored. Hoang sifted through reports one by one, his eyes aching after hours of reading. Finally, he stopped at a yellowed clipping. The date still clear. Final year student dies on shortcut road, suspected cause, loss of control. Hoang slid the paper toward Lan, his voice trembling. This is the day Quoc Bao died. But it's strange, the report only mentions him. Not a single word about anyone else being there. Lan tilted her head, studying the brief lines intently. Maybe the press deliberately left it out. The shortcut accident was always shrouded in mystery. Hoang, we need a witness. Someone who actually saw it happen. Hoang sat in silence for a moment, then suddenly recalled something. His eyes lit up. I remember, there was an old man selling drinks near the shortcut. He sat there every day, close to the bend where the crash happened. Maybe he knows something. Lan nodded slowly. Then let's go this afternoon. But Hoang, you need to prepare yourself. The deeper we dig, the heavier it will get. That afternoon, they found the old roadside drink stall. A frail man with snow-white hair was bent over, tidying a few plastic tables. Spotting them, he squinted, his gravelly voice cautious. Who are you two looking for? Strangers don't usually come around here. Hoang stepped forward respectfully. Sir, we want to ask about an accident from years ago. A student named Quoc Bao died on this road. Were you near the scene back then? The old man stiffened slightly, his deep-set eyes locking on Hoang. He stayed silent for a long time, then slowly dragged out a chair, gesturing for them to sit. He poured them each a cup of hot tea, then lowered his voice. Of course I remember. That night, it was raining. The road was empty, just the sound of a motorbike tearing through. That boy, he wasn't alone. Lan leaned forward, her voice hushed. So, there really was someone riding with him? The old man nodded deliberately. Yes, I saw it clearly. A girl, long hair, sitting behind him, arms wrapped around his waist. But here's the strange thing. The moment the crash happened, the bike plunged into the ditch. I ran over, only the boy was there, lying still, no one else. The girl vanished, like she never existed. A chill crawled down Hoang's spine. His fists tightened. Did you see her face? Who was she? Was she from the neighborhood? The old man shook his head, fear flickering in his eyes. Couldn't see her face, but I'll never forget, just before the bike sped off, I heard laughter, a girl's laugh, shrill and drawn out. That night, I didn't sleep. I knew she wasn't human. The air grew heavy, suffocating. Hoang and Lan exchanged a look, both feeling a freezing shiver course down their backs. The ring on Hoang's hand grew warm, faintly vibrating at the old man's words. Hoang swallowed hard, his voice unsteady. Could it be that girl was the one who dragged Quoc Bao away? And now, she's coming for me? Lan clasped his hand under the table, her tone resolute. Whoever she is, we have to uncover the truth. We can't let him remain trapped in the dark forever. Outside, the wind howled through the roadside trees. The shortcut stretched on in silence, like a gaping black mouth waiting for its next victim to step inside. Night had just fallen when Hoang and Lan returned to the shortcut road. The damp air after the rain left patches of yellow streetlight shimmering across the wet pavement. In the distance, cars sped past and vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence. Hoang stopped his bike at the roadside, drawing in a deep breath. "Lan, are you sure you want to go through with this? What that old man told us earlier, it wasn't simple." Lan tightened the straps of her backpack, her voice firm though her tension showed. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now. If we stop, he'll remain trapped forever." "Hoang, do you really want to abandon Quoc Bao?" Hoang stayed quiet, guilt flickering in his eyes. He gave a small nod, started the engine, and drove slowly into the deserted stretch. The night wind whistled past, dead leaves crackling under the tires, the musty stench of damp earth filling the air. After a while, Hoang felt a chill crawl across his neck. He glanced into the rearview mirror, and his heart lurched. For an instant, a faint shadow sat behind him, like someone riding pillion. Startled, he braked hard, the bike swerving. Lan grabbed his shoulder, her voice sharp with alarm. "What happened? Did you see something?" Hoang's voice shook, his eyes still fixed on the mirror. I saw someone sitting behind me. Couldn't see the face, just long hair falling down, then it disappeared." Lan swallowed hard, forcing herself calm. "Stay steady. Maybe that was the girl the old man mentioned. Don't let her lead you. Keep going, we'll learn more." As the bike rolled forward again, a whisper drifted to their ears. "Hoang, turn back." It was a girl's voice, drawn out and chilling, brushing the back of his neck. Hoang tightened his grip on the handlebars, fighting the urge to turn. Lan leaned close to his ear, whispering, "Don't look back. If you do, you'll never leave this place." But before her words faded, the whisper returned, closer now, as if right beside him. "Hoang, why did you abandon me?" Hoang clenched his teeth, sweat beading on his temple. His neck twitched, ready to turn, when Lan grabbed his face firmly, her voice fierce. "Look straight ahead, trust me." And then, suddenly, a figure appeared in front of them. A girl in a white dress stood in the middle of the road. Her hair hung over her face, her whole body trembling. Hoang panicked, jerking the handlebars. The bike skidded sideways, stopping just a few meters from her. Gasping, eyes wide, he stammered, She's standing right there. You see her too, right?" Lan's hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "I see her, this time. It's real." The girl slowly raised her head. The headlights revealed a deathly pale face, eyes blank and hollow, lips twitching into a shrill, echoing laugh that rang through the night. Hoang instinctively backed the bike, his heart pounding. His voice broke. That's the girl from the night of the accident." Lan gripped his shoulder, steadying herself. "If that's true, then she's the key. We need to find out who she was, why she disappeared, and why she clings to Quoc Bao." The girl's laughter echoed, then abruptly cut off. Her figure flickered for a moment before dissolving into the mist, leaving the road empty, chilling in its silence. Hoang panted hard, his hands still trembling on the handlebars. Lan stared into the darkness ahead, her eyes sharp with resolve. "Hoang, I think we need to find the official accident files. Quoc Bao's death, there's another layer of truth no one has touched." Hoang nodded, his gaze torn between fear and determination. The ring on his hand burned hotter than ever, reminding him that the road would not let them go so easily. The night pressed in, the shortcut looming like an endless maze, swallowing every sound whole. The next morning, Hoang and Lan went to the city library to search for the accident files from 2019. The library was hushed, filled only with the sound of pages turning and pens scratching faintly on paper. Lan's eyes locked on the stacks of old newspapers. Her hand trembled as she pulled out a yellowed sheet, the bold headline glaring back at her. "Mysterious accident on shortcut road, female student killed. Boyfriend missing." Hoang leaned in, his heart pounding. The article read clearly. The victim was Nguyen Ngoc Han, 21, a final year student. She was found dead, her body crushed from a motorbike collision. The boyfriend riding with her, Kwok Bao, vanished right after the crash and has never been seen since. Hoang and Lan stared at each other in shock. Kwok Bao was her boyfriend? Lan whispered. Hoang swallowed hard, his voice thick. Impossible. Bao never once told us about this. He always acted like he didn't remember anything. Lan bit her lip, steadying her breath. Maybe that very trauma is what trapped his soul. And the girl, Nak Han, still lingers at the site of the crash, searching for the one she loved. As they prepared to leave the library, Hoang suddenly felt the ring on his finger burn hot. He tore it off, only to see its surface cracking, as if about to shatter. Lan gasped in alarm. Hoang, something's happening. Kwok Bao's spirit, it's being pulled away. Hoang clutched the ring tightly, sweat breaking across his forehead. No, if we lose this, Bao will be gone forever. At that very moment, a cold gust swept through the library corridor. Every window burst open, papers swirling chaotically in the air. Within the storm of sound came a mournful cry. Why did you abandon me? Hoang and Lan spun around, faces drained of color. A girl in a white dress materialized slowly in the center of the library, her hollow eyes fixed on them. Lan's voice shook. Nak Han, she's come here herself. Hoang gripped Lan's hand tightly, feeling the icy chill seep into his skin. The ring in his palm quivered violently, glowing with a pale light. Lan drew in a deep breath, whispering, maybe this is the moment we have to face her directly. Nak Han stepped closer, each footfall echoing in the vast emptiness, each step accompanied by a choked sob, each breath a haunting hiss. Hoang clenched his teeth, his eyes hardening with resolve. He knew that if he faltered even once, there would be no turning back. Inside the library, the air thickened, as if an invisible hand was squeezing every breath out of the room. Hoang and Lan stood close together, their eyes fixed on the white figure approaching. Nak Han stopped just a few steps away. Her pale face was half hidden by strands of hair, her eyes glowing red like embers. Her voice rasped, heavy with both accusation and despair. Hoang, why do you keep him with you? Kwok Bao belongs to me. Hoang gripped the ring tightly, forcing his voice steady. Nak Han, I never meant to take Bao from you. He hasn't been able to move on. I only held onto a piece of his memory to uncover the truth. Nak Han let out a chilling laugh that echoed through the shelves. The truth? The truth is that he abandoned me that night. I died alone, while he disappeared, leaving me to suffer on that cursed road. Lan stepped forward half a pace, her voice trembling but resolute. No, Nak Han, he never abandoned you. Kwok Bao was a victim too. We believe something else happened, something neither of you ever knew. Nak Han froze. For a moment, her crimson eyes flickered, as if a crack opened in her wall of hatred. At that instant, the ring in Hoang's hand flared with light, and Kwok Bao's faint figure appeared between them. His face was hollow, his eyes dim as if drained of life. He stretched a hand toward Nak Han, his voice breaking. Han, I never left you. I don't even remember why I vanished. I only recall a blinding light, a terrible crash, and then everything went dark. Nak Han trembled, her translucent hands reaching out but unable to touch him. Blood-red tears streamed down her face. So, we both were lost together? Lan's own tears fell, her voice cracking. No, neither of you deserved this. But hatred only keeps you chained forever. If love still exists, then please, forgive each other. Nak Han turned to Hoang, her voice shattered. Give him back to me. Hoang's whole body shook as he clutched the ring. He turned to Lan, torn with doubt. If I give it up, I'll lose the only piece of Bao left with me. He might vanish forever. Lan laid a hand firmly on his shoulder, her tone solemn yet gentle. Hoang, sometimes true love means letting go. Don't keep him for yourself any longer. Hoang closed his eyes tightly. In that instant, memories flooded back. Bao's gentle smile, the days of walking to class together, the long nights studying side by side, all of it like a dream fading away. When he opened his eyes, he held the ring out toward Nok Han. His voice was low, part farewell, part prayer. Bow, go back to the one you love. I won't hold you anymore. The ring blazed with radiant light, then shattered into thousands of glowing shards swirling around Nok Han and Kwok Bao. Their forms merged, embracing one last time. In that moment, sobs of sorrow melted into a sigh of release. The library fell silent again. Hoang collapsed to his knees, tears brimming. Lan knelt beside him, squeezing his hand tightly. You did the right thing, Hoang. He nodded faintly, his voice hoarse. Yeah, it's just, I feel so empty now. Outside, the midday sun streamed through the dusty windows, spilling across the floor. Everything seemed normal again, yet deep inside, Hoang and Lan knew they had just guided two souls to the place they truly belonged. After that day, Hoang and Lan decided to move to a new place. They avoided passing by the shortcut road and rarely spoke about what had happened. Life slowly returned to normal. Mornings filled with classes, afternoons heading home, evenings spent studying. Yet, deep inside both of them, the void Kwok Bao left behind was never truly filled. One late evening, after class, Hoang walked home alone. A light drizzle fell, the cold wind whispering through the trees. Nearing an intersection, he suddenly realized he had turned the wrong way. The path before him was the shortcut road. He froze. Memories crashed back like a flood. The whispers in the dark. Nok Han's crimson eyes. And that final moment when Bao vanished with her. Hoang drew a deep breath, about to turn away, but then, he heard it, a faint voice, drifting like the wind brushing past his ear. Hoang, startled, he turned. The road behind him lay silent, only the pale glow of streetlights reflecting off the wet ground. Hoang let out a quiet, shaky laugh, trying to reassure himself. Must be my imagination? He walked on, heading toward the brighter streets of the city. But as his figure faded into the distance, a faint silhouette slowly appeared at the entrance of the shortcut. Kwok Bao. He stood there, his familiar gentle smile lingering, though his eyes carried a sorrow that seemed unfinished. Beside him, Nok Han held his arm, her face now calm and softened, free of the hatred she once carried. The two of them stood together, watching as Hoang's shadow disappeared into the night. And on the wind, a whisper rose, both distant and intimate. Thank you, my friend. Unaware, Hoang only felt a strange warmth at his back, chasing away the chill of the rainy night. The shortcut road remained silent, but for those who had once stepped onto it, a part of its memory would forever linger in their hearts. That brings this story to an end. Thank you for listening until this very moment. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. It's a huge motivation for us to create more ghost stories for you to hear. If you have any questions or spot any mistakes in the story, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. And Bong Toi Trong Dem will see you again in the next story.